Oh, you're perfect. Yeah, this is good.
Okay, Peter Burns, ESPN, SEC Network. Like Shane was saying, one of the busiest men at this entire event. Thank you for making the time.
I feel like I'm doing a Netflix documentary. I mean, like, they only put the big stars on the whole Netflix any given Saturday. Like, I'm kind of nervous at this point. Like, for those, like, you're awesome in it. I had an opportunity to watch episode 1, and like when you see these moments, and you always need some kind of voice of relevance that is like telling you what exactly was going on. Like whenever you would come on, like you crushed it. So that was congratulations. That was awesome.
Thank you. I mean, we've been joking the whole time because when we exited the screening, there was like this literally happened. There was a flock of women, right?
Yeah, it was awkward for you.
We didn't follow them by any means, but we did meet up with them at the elevator, and they said, "Hey, you're the guy.
You're the guy.
You must be famous." And I don't know that my life will ever get better than that moment. I don't think that has never happened to me. I'm sure it happens to you all the time.
Just wait until the actual the show comes out.
Yeah.
Just take a Leonardo DiCaprio, chill out a little bit, guys.
Well,
right?
I'd like to clarify.
Are you going to dump all the girls once they turn 25, though? That's the big question for you.
Yeah.
Don't be an ageist, Michael. Be the change that we all need in this world.
Speaking of Belichick, no.
Well played.
Well, I just wanted to clarify. We were not chasing. I was heading to an element because my wife's probably listening to this.
Yeah.
I'm going from point A to point B. It just so happened that they saw Mike in the documentary. I had nothing to do with it.
It was the screaming. That's why I was wondering. It was either Jordan Rogers or Michael Bratton. I couldn't figure out which one it was. So now I know.
Shane Gillis, I don't know if you follow his comedy. He's got a bit, though. You remember the 2 or 3 times a woman compliments you in your life. And that was number one for me. So that's going to go down in history.
Drop the mic, my friend. But all joking aside, great job on it. It's going to be fantastic. And you guys have just crushed it over the last couple of years, too. I enjoyed it when we did it in Nashville, although I was extremely hungover the last time that we did it. I went back and looked at that video like a week later because I was like, I'm not going to watch it the next day. And I was like, oof, man, we need to mix in a water next time.
Oh, it's tough in Nashville.
So that's why I was like, if I'm going to come hang out with you guys, I'm not doing it at 9 o'clock in the morning in Nashville. I will do it at like 4 o'clock after my job responsibilities here. So
we could have just done it on the Strip in Nashville. I think it would have been better than the night before. So
yeah, and then I'd be fired. So
you could have been the next Hawk Tua. That's how she got famous.
No, yeah.
That's never want to be put in that part of my life. So it's a great start for this interview, guys.
Yeah. So how are you on crypto these days?
Yeah, it's well, trust me, I'm a lot better now that I'm not in it. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I fell for that little scheme for everybody back in the day.
Let me ask you. I mean, one of the go-to contents for me, man, is you. I don't have notifications on for a lot of people on Twitter, but I love it because it's real, it's authentic, and it's fun. It's usually entertaining, and I love that, and I appreciate that about you.
Thanks, man.
There seems to be a little bit of buzz this year as opposed to last year. I mean, what would you kind of put this? Because you've done a lot of media days.
Yeah.
Where would you kind of put this as far as excitement about the conference and what we're going to be able to do this year?
You know why? And Shane, you echo what I said on the show this morning as well too. Is the fact that it felt different. The reason why it feels different, it feels like a throwback to 2019 because this is the first time in a long time we've actually talked about football. So think about it. 2020, we didn't have it. 2021, we're talking about coming out of the pandemic, and then it was conference realignment. Then it was Texas and Oklahoma are going to join eventually. Then it was an expanded college football playoff. Then it's NIL, it's transfer portal, it's house settlement, all of that crap. This is the first year that all of it's settled, and all 16 coaches are back. So it felt like there was no of these big topics that we had to ask about. It was. Yeah, we can get back to football. So we hadn't had that in 5-6 years. So I think that's why there's been a different buzz. And I think because of the parity level. I think in the years past, we talked about, all right, it's Alabama, it's Georgia, who's the third best team? And now I think you almost have to look at it and goes like, who's the 7th, 8th, and 9th best team? Because 1 through 6 almost feel not interchangeable, but you can make a valid argument right now that there's 5 teams, maybe even 6, that could be in Atlanta. You'd be like, okay, we've never been able to say that. And we've never been able to say that throughout all of college football where there's 30 teams that might have a legitimate chance to make the college football playoff. It used to be 5 or 6. The game is in a much better spot despite how much people are bitching and moaning about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's right where I was going to say. You know, it has opened it up for a Missouri, for an Ole Miss, even a Tennessee,
South Carolina,
made the playoffs, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of this, because we echo those sentiments, it's a parity league right now.
Yeah.
we always give too much praise to the quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks that break out will probably settle who goes on to the playoff in the SEC. Who's at that top of your list, maybe because we have like the perceived favorites, but is there a quarterback out there that maybe people are not looking at as a top 5 quarterback that could potentially get into those ranks?
So it's an interesting question, because when we talked about who we think are the quote-unquote blue bloods of this conference right now, probably going to be Georgia, kind of going to be Texas. You probably think Alabama as well, too. All of those have question marks at quarterback. Okay, I mean, we think Arch is going to be good. We don't know. It probably is going to be Ty Simpson over at Alabama. And even for Georgia, we saw a hint of Gunnar Stockton, but are we sold on him yet? No. And it's that other tier. It's DJ Lagway at Florida. We've seen. He looks awesome when he's healthy. Lenore Sellers, that secondary tier. Even Garrett Nussmeier coming back, that secondary tier of LSU trying to go back. So that's why I think the parity level is so interesting this year. All week long, we get a chance to talk to all the players, all the coaches, and the number one that so far at this point in this juncture of media days that I've just been wowed by was Austin Simmons over at Ole Miss. And 19 years old, reminds me exactly like when I would talk to Tua, just cool, calm, collected. And I'm like, this kid, he was homeschooled. See, like sometimes you get homeschool kid, they're kind of awkward and they're like, they never had those human interactions. Like, dude, I have a 7-year-old and 5-year-old, and I was like gonna go to Austin Simmons. Like, how should I raise my kids? I'm like that, like bought into this guy. And I know, when Lane in that Ole Miss Georgia game, I think you guys remember it. Ole Miss trying to hold off Georgia, they're playing well, and all of a sudden Jackson Dart goes down, and I'm like, oh boy, here comes 18-year-old Austin Simmons. They're gonna just hand the ball off, and I mean, here comes Georgia. They threw the ball 6 damn times, and it was 6 darts against Georgia's defense. And I'm like, okay. And I asked Austin about that this week. I go, well, I mean, did you think coach was going to just hand it off or whatever? And he goes, cool, calm, glad. No. Lane pulled me to the side, put me into the huddle, and he goes, we're going to run the playbook. You good? And he goes, yeah, we're good. I'm like, that's some serial killer stuff, dude. Like, it was – and I think they take a step back this year defensively. They just don't have the front. But if he's able to stay there for 2 years, and Lane does as well, which I think he's starting to settle down in Oxford, I think sky's the limit for that squad.
It's funny you reference that real quick, Shane, because I get old takes exposed about once a week during the football season.
Yeah.
I got old takes exposed. When Jackson Dart went down, I said, oh, Ole Miss is done. Georgia's rolling. That was a popular one the next day on Old Takes Exposed.
Right? I mean, because that was the idea. I mean, think about when Lenore Sellers went down against LSU. They were in full command of that game. Robbie Ashford comes in, and all of a sudden LSU got back in, and strange things happened. LSU ended up winning that game. Now, South Carolina got robbed in a couple different ways. But, I mean, I believed it. And that's why I thought, well, they're just going to run the ball, and that you cannot be one-dimensional against Kirby because they'll just, beat you to death. They weren't. And, like, for him to have that moment, it told me everything that Lane believes in him. I firmly believe, and Lane would never say this, because Jackson Dart had a lot of talent. But I also think there was a certain ceiling for him. But he would mature. He had played a lot of downs and a lot of snaps. But I think that if push came to shove, Austin Simmons has a much higher ceiling than Jackson Dart did. And Jackson Dart was a damn good football player.
Do you think any of that was kind of skewed because now the coaches are in the headset? I mean, It's one thing. You don't think so at all?
No, I don't know if I ever really gave it, thought about, all right, are they able to communicate a little bit different? I think it helps, but doesn't change the fact that you still got to compete. I mean, I know guys that, hey, they get the moment, they're great. It's like a golfer. Some guys you see on the practice range and they're hitting balls, they're just striping it all day long. You get them in a tournament, they can't break 80. And the flip side of it, some guys you're like, this guy's garbage. And all of a sudden he gets in and he's a player. And Austin Simmons seems like that player.
Then there's some that are just garbage.
Not Hugh Freeze. He's playing a lot of he's playing a lot of golf right now.
Well, speaking of, I always, covering the entire SEC. I grew up diehard Vol fan, so I'm always a little bit skewed toward Tennessee.
Yeah.
But like a stray dog that comes to your house and you clean it up, there's always that one that you just fall in love
How many
with every
strays have
year.
you cleaned up here in your life?
I've got 2
Okay,
now.
good. That's really good.
So,
That's what
that being
is that
said,
what your wife says about you as well too? It's like, got 3 if you count Shay.
I am a what's called quote unquote project.
That's okay. We all are, my friend. We all are.
I always said she said I bought the model, you know. So the maintenance fee
that.
on me is pretty high. But yeah, I feel like every year there's a team that kind of comes up that I just fall in love with. Auburn's becoming one of those.
Yeah.
Maybe because everybody's attacking them or something like that, but I do see some real potential. Is there a team in the SEC that you're kind of like, man, I'm kind of rooting for these guys a little bit?
One would be Arkansas
Yeah.
because I think everybody's left Sam Pittman for dead for several different years, and I've seen coaches not quit but check out in this conference. I never got that from Sam Pittman. I know it just eats at him that they lost some close games and they just didn't have the talent around them, and Taylor got a little bit banged up, and so they were in a tough spot. So I think Arkansas is one of those teams that are in that moment right now, and so I'll be honest with you, and I hate giving credit to my co-host Chris Doring anytime, but Doring has been all in on Oklahoma. And it wasn't even on my radar this year. And then the more and more people I talk to this week, the more people I talk to around the Sooners and talking to guys that here at Media Days, there's just a certain sense of like backs up against the wall, but we're not freaking out moment. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do. And I think the schedule sets up okay for them as well. Missouri is fascinating as well. And I know it's not sexy to talk about Missouri. It never has been. And Drink kind of likes it that way. But you look at their schedule right now, I don't know how if you find 4 losses on that schedule, it's wild. And I think Drink is a criminally underrated coach. He's goofy as hell, but I think he leans into it well. And sneakily, I think that's a team that I don't think they're a college football playoff team because they don't have the talent, but that they had last year with like Luther Burden, Theo East, and all those guys, and even Brady Cook. But their schedule, golly, it almost looks like a Big 12 schedule, ACC schedule.
You mentioned your co-host Doring. I had to ask you, who's leading in the pre-show makeup chair? Time split, if you're equal 50-50, where's that time at this week?
He's a pretty boy. I mean, like, there's no doubt. We had some fun with him yesterday. Poor Heather Dinich was getting her makeup done, and Alyssa Lang's there. And then, Doring's like, can you fix my hair? Can you do this? Well, I was like, I got to take a picture of that. So I took a picture, and then we reenacted it today. It's like, look who's the princess now. The funny part about it is he's never worn contacts ever in his life. And this is a grown-ass man, 50-some-odd years old, one of the most decorated players in SEC history. I mean, just runs a successful business, a great teammate. Don't tell him I said that, but a great teammate on air. The grown man cannot put contacts in his eyes. We literally had 3 people in there, like, trying to do surgery for them to get, like, this little plastic contact in his eye. And he's like, I can't do it. I'm out. And I'm like, come on, dude. We're, like, walking. He was, like, going through labor. I'm like, you could breathe, dude. You could do it. So he finally got the contacts in. He was like, I can see now. It's amazing.
Have you got any bad ideas? Kind of
No, and in fact, I need your viewers and listeners to help us out because traditionally we have that LSU Florida wager, and it's been a good bit. We've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I can't tell you across the country how many times people will stop me and go, that's my favorite thing. Like, I don't care about LSU, I don't care about Florida. I got to see who wins that game because of that.
The baseball one was my
Well,
favorite.
and so the baseball, for those who don't know, LSU and Florida play. I love LSU. He played at Florida. We have this wager, and the loser has to dress up or do something kind of crazy. So it's always for football. Well, a couple of years ago, LSU and Florida play in the College World Series, and we're not even thinking about it. We're like, oh, this will be fun. I get a call from Commissioner Greg Sankey. And Sankey goes, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, God, I'm in trouble again. He's like, no. He goes, what are y'all doing? I go, what do you mean? He goes, what are y'all doing for the College World Series bet? I go, I'm sorry, what are you and Doring, are y'all going to have an LSU-Florida wager? You got to have one. I'm like, perfect. So we came up with the idea that whoever lost had to dress up in the other team's baseball uniform to come to media day. So LSU won a national championship. So he had to dress up, fly from Gainesville, and he said the amount of people in Gainesville, they're looking at him like, what the hell? And then he's walking through Charlotte, and people are like taking pictures thinking he's an LSU baseball coach or player, and like, why would a player be wearing his jersey? But long story short, sorry, we don't know what that bet's going to be, and it's earlier this year than ever. It's in week 4, so I'm freaking out a little bit, but we still got 2 months to figure out a good wager.
And that's such a huge game because I think
It's a pivot point for both of those squads. Yeah.
Exactly. That's right where I was going to go. I mean, 12-team playoff, you can afford a mulligan, but
Yeah.
the way the schedule breaks down for both, I can't see the loser of that game having a good season.
No, it's difficult. And again, LSU fans for the longest time, they felt, Scott Woodward had Billy Napier right in his backyard at Louisiana Lafayette, right? And he could have hired him and never even interviewed him, never even thought about it, like almost like, hey, we're not doing Sunbelt Billy. That's what LSU fans call him. And LSU fans kind of dunked on it the last couple of years, like, that's the reason why we didn't do it. Well, he flipped it last year, right? And so now if Billy Napier is able to go and win that game again, you get 2 in a row, you get some momentum going. I'm fascinated to see how that plays out. My only concern with DJ Lagway this year is I think he's as talented as anybody in the country, right? But I think him not being 100% healthy in spring football, and I don't even know if he's 100% healthy now. Billy says he will be healthy by the time the tournament or by the season rolls around. Losing those reps or not having those reps in spring ball and being able to throw every day and learn the offense when you're that young, can you play on an upper echelon? We know he can play good and talented, but you have to know every aspect of the game for it to slow down. That's my concern on DJ and how he progresses this season.
Radio Row always does this every single year.
I mean, Digital Drive this year, right?
That's
right.
whatever they're calling
it.
Yeah, but it's same thing. I come in with a preconceived notion. These are my teams. This is how I feel about it. But then you start going to this table and that table. Is there any teams that maybe you came in, you were a little low on, now you're a little bit higher?
Yeah. I think Oklahoma, definitely, for John Mateer. I was talking to Jordan Rogers, who does a great job for us, and he really breaks down, obviously, a lot of the quarterback film. And I was like, I don't know about Mateer, like what's going on. And he had said, man, they really liked the tape. And then I started thinking about it. Why was Diego Pavia so successful last year? A, because nobody saw them coming, right? But also, when Clark Lee decided that Diego Pavia was going to be his quarterback, they also brought in Jerry Kill, and they also brought in, I can't remember the offensive coordinator that was with Diego, and that was a package deal. Well, John Mateer and Arbuckle are coming in from Washington State. So it's not as, hey, we got Mateer, we need him to learn this system. They're taking the successful system, your quarterback and your coordinator, and bringing them in and into a spot that says, all right, now do it here, which I love. It's fascinating. It's almost like when the Bengals said, all right, we got Joe Burrow. Who do you want? Give me Jamar Chase as well, too. Let's get that combo, and that worked really well. So if it works half as good as the Pavia package did in Nashville, then sky's going to be the limit right now for Oklahoma.
Last question I've got, and then I'll stop. Danny Cannell earlier this week said, brace yourselves for 4 days of propaganda.
Sure.
And is the SEC back? I mean, it's been a while.
Well, the SEC never left. What ends up happening right now, and again, you're seeing this is the Big Ten in a smart way. I'm not even upset that they're doing this. They're playing kind of this Ponzi scheme game where they have their competitors. They're Ohio State and Michigan the last 2 seasons, Penn State to a lesser extent. But what they're doing is they have a large conference, and they'll still, not every one of those teams in the conference really is dialed and cared about football, okay? You can't say that about the SEC. And Mississippi State, yeah, they struggled last year. They care about football. Vanderbilt, look at what's happening right now. Kentucky, all of these teams care. I don't know how much Rutgers football really cares about it. Like, I don't know how much they're dialed in at UCLA right now. So I think it's such a top-heavy league with only 1 or 2 that, yeah, they've had success. And the SEC has kind of become more of the NFLization where you cannot stack talent the way Bear Bryant did it back in the day, or Nick Saban did. Nick Saban, guys, remember we'd come out here and there'd be some 3rd or 4th string defensive end we never heard of. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He just has to wait his turn. Kirby did the same thing in Athens. And you can't do that in today's structure of college football. And so there's a lot more parity. And, listen, top to bottom, yes, maybe it is propaganda, and I've drank the Kool-Aid. I got the tramp stamp back here, but that's my contract. That was the only way I landed the job. But, yeah, it's still top to bottom going to be the best league.
Hey, that could be the bet right there.
We thought about that. HR has already. We thought about doing that. We're like nipple piercing. Let's go out there, and they're like, yeah, like it's like no bad ideas in brainstorming. They're like, that's a bad idea.
All right, last thing for you, Peter. Really appreciate your time. So all week, our coverage is brought to you by MyBookie. They're our presenting sponsor. So we're asking everybody that stops by for their MyBookie boldest take of the upcoming season. Could be anything SEC related. What's your boldest take?
My boldest take that, and I will say this. I hope they get rid of player props at some point because I know that it's so tough for the college athletes.
We don't have those at MyBookie. So
okay, good. So you're in there. Well, my boldest take would have been, I got two of them for you. One, that Austin Simmons ends up having the breakout season as far as stats wise, because I think he could do it both ways, and I think Lane is ready to unleash him. So I think that's going to be my kind of breakout player. The other part is an old SEC coach, Dan Mullen over at UNLV. And I don't know what the over and under is about it, but like he has a bone, like he has a chip on his shoulder right now. He's got a bunch of former SEC guys and a bunch of guys that are looking for a new opportunity. And he's playing in a conference right now that I don't think is going to be great. Is there a fight breaking out after behind me? I don't know what's happening there.
Dog Nation's had enough.
Okay, yeah. They're pissed off because I picked Bama over him. Yeah. My bad. But yeah, I think the over and under was like 8 or 7.5 wins. I'm like, I like UNLV.
Is it crazy to think Dan Mullen can find his way back to the SEC now that he doesn't have to recruit well, he has to recruit, but not as hard with the NIL and everything?
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of interesting. He was, I don't know how that plays out because Dan's just a different kind of cat, and I think he really likes UNLV. I think there's an opportunity to start fresh. He likes the Vegas spotlight. That's everything that's around him. And he has an opportunity. And I don't know if you remember a guy named Will Healy who was around coaching. And now he coaches over at East Tennessee State. And he told me, he's like, sometimes you realize that, like, you want to win a bunch of damn games. And at some point, who are you trying to prove anything to? And, I mean, Mullen got I wouldn't say a raw deal, but you go back and look at the success Mullen was having at Florida. He won a lot of games, and they struggled after they got rid of Dan for a little bit, and they've still been trying to kind of find their footing. So, anyway, long-winded way of saying I think he's kind of happy right now. Yeah. But then again, when Mama comes calling in the SEC, and more importantly, Jimmy Sexton says, I got a paycheck that's worth $10 million, you go pick up the damn phone.
Yeah.
Peter, before you go, tell our audience how to follow you for some of the best SEC content out there and catch the show every morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's dumb content, but at least Shane likes it, so I'm there. On Instagram and on Twitter, at Peter Burns ESPN, we do a Monday through Friday show over on SiriusXM, and then, of course, all my stuff for the SEC Network, and then on Sunday mornings I do a national show for ESPN Radio. So a lot of nonsense there, and I'm faking it till I make it. And 11 years in, I'm still doing it. So
nice. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
I
guys.
appreciate it.